Hello everyone, welcome back. You are not ready for how intense things just got on Coronation Street. What starts as a quite almost ordinary day on the cobbles quickly spirals into something deeply unsettling. As tensions between David, Jodie, and Shona reach a boiling point that no one can ignore. There is this heavy feeling hanging in the air from the very beginning, like something is about to snap, and honestly, you can feel it in every interaction. Jodie is carrying a truth that's clearly eating her alive, and the closer she gets to revealing it, the more everything around her starts to feel unstable. At the same time, David is unraveling in a way that's both shocking and, if you have followed his story, almost inevitable. He senses what's coming before it happens. And instead of facing it, he spirals into panic. And when those two forces collide, Jodie's need to tell the truth and David's desperation to keep it buried, it leads to a moment that completely changes the tone of everything. This isn't just drama anymore, this is damage that can't easily be undone. The scene builds slowly, and that's what makes it so powerful. You can almost hear the quiet hum of everyday life in Weatherfield. The distant shatter, the soft clatter of cups, the normalcy that feels almost deceptive. Jodie moves through it all like someone carrying a weight no one else can see. Her body language says everything. Hesitant steps, eyes that don't quite meet anyone else's, hands that fidget like she's constantly debating whether to go through with what she's about to do. And then there's David. The moment he clocks onto what might happen, everything about him shifts. His posture stiffens. His expressions become sharper, more guarded. You can practically see the calculations happening in his head. It's not calm thinking, it's frantic, chaotic, like he's trying to hold together something that's already cracking. And honestly, watching him in that state is uncomfortable because you know he's not going to handle this well. Jodie's internal conflict is written all over her face. She doesn't look like someone trying to cause harm. If anything, she looks exhausted by burden of knowing something she feels morally obligated to share. There is a moment where she pauses, almost like she might turn back, and you can feel how much she is weighing the consequences. But then something pushes her forward, maybe guilt, maybe empathy for Shona, and she keeps going. Meanwhile, Shona is completely unaware of what's unfolding around her, and that's where the tension really tightens. She's going about her day, maybe sensing that something feels off, but not understanding why. It's in the small details, the slight furrow of her brow, the way she hesitates mid-conversation like she's picking up on something just out of reach. That dramatic irony just makes everything heavier. When David finally steps in, it's not subtle. There is no careful conversation, no attempt at reasoning. It's immediate, reactive, and driven entirely by fear. The confrontation escalates so quickly that it almost feels like whiplash. One second it's tense, the next it's explosive, and when it turns physical, that's the moment everything changes. You can almost hear the sudden silence that follows, like the world itself pauses. Jodie is left stunned, trying to process what just happened, her breathing uneven, her entire body tense. There is this raw shock in her expression, like she can't believe it got to this point. And honestly, neither can you. It's one of those moments where you just sit there thinking, I can't believe he actually did that. The people around them don't react immediately either. There is hesitation, uncertainty, some look like they want to step in. Others freeze completely. It's that uncomfortable human instinct. When something goes too far, too fast, and no one quite knows how to respond, the atmosphere shifts from tense to deeply unsettling in seconds. David, on the other hand, doesn't come across as calm or in control after it happens. If anything, he looks more unhinged. There is this mix of anger and panic still bubbling under the surface. Like he's trying to justify what he's done even as the reality of it starts to sink in. His eyes don't settle, his movements feel erratic. It's clear he's not thinking clearly anymore. Jodie's resolve is shaken but not completely broken, and that's what makes her character so compelling in this moment. Even after being attacked, there's still that internal pull toward telling the truth. But now it's different. Now it's not just about honesty, it's about personal safety. You can see the fear creeping in, making her question whether it's worth it. At the same time, the environment itself starts to feel heavier. The cobbles, usually so familiar and comforting, suddenly feel oppressive. Every glance between characters carries suspicion. Conversations feel shorter, more guarded. It's like the entire street is reacting to something it doesn't fully understand yet. David's internal struggle becomes more visible as the aftermath settles in. There are moments where you can see guilt flash across his face, quickly buried under layers of justification. He tells himself he had no choice, that he is protecting Shona, that this was necessary, but it doesn't quite land. You can tell even he doesn't fully believe it. Jodie, meanwhile, is left in a state of emotional and physical shock. The weight of her decision now feels even heavier. She is not just risking relationships anymore, she is risking herself, and that kind of pressure changes a person. You can see it in the way she holds herself, more guarded now, more cautious. And Shona, she is still on the outside of it all, but not for long. There is this growing sense that something is coming, something unavoidable. The tension surrounding her is too strong to stay hidden, and when it finally reaches her, it's going to hit hard. This moment isn't just about the attack, it's about what it represents. David crossing that line changes how every other character, and even the audience, sees him. It's no longer just about flawed decisions or emotional reactions. This is something deeper, something darker. It also sets off a chain reaction. Trust is damaged, fear is introduced, and the truth, ironically, becomes even more powerful, because once something is suppressed this violently, it doesn't disappear, it builds. And when it comes out, it usually worse. The dynamic between protection and control becomes central here. David believes he's protecting Shona, but his actions suggest something else entirely. And that contradiction is where the real tension lies. And this is where the story stops being about a single confrontation and starts becoming about consequences that can't be undone. Because David's actions don't just create fear in the moment, they create a shift in perception. And once people start seeing you differently, that version of you doesn't easily disappear. No matter how much regret follows, what makes this so uncomfortable is the contradiction at the center of it. David genuinely believes he's protecting Shona, but protecting that crosses into aggression stops feeling like love and starts feeling like control. And that's the part that lingers, because once fear becomes the reason for your choices, it stops being about what's right and starts being about what you can justify to yourself in the moment. In my view, this is one of those turning points where David's biggest enemy isn't Jodie or Shona. It's his own inability to sit with uncertainty, and that's usually where people make the most irreversible mistakes. But here's the question that really cuts through everything. If Shona discovers what David has done before hearing the truth from Jodie, will she see it as protection or as something she can never forgive? And another one, has David actually stopped the truth from coming out, or has he only made it more explosive when it finally does surface? Looking ahead, it feels like this situation can't stay hidden for long because too many people have already felt the tension building. And in weather field, pressure like this always finds a way to escape eventually. So, watch the quiet aftermath closely. The behavior changes, the half truths, the avoidance of eye contact, because that's where the real fallout begins. Long before anyone admits what has truly happened.